Right.
I heard it said one time that the greatest repositories in any community of wealth, knowledge, skill building lie in the cemeteries, and they were never realized. There's some things that are worse than death, and getting blown up in a deal or something like that to take it out to a less ethereal level. As a paramedic, you can go out on patients who have a negative outcome, and that's sad. But I think what's oftentimes more sad is you watch a life erode on the couch because of fear and paralyzation that comes with it over 40 or 50 or 60 years.
Yeah.
And that's really just because of that fear mindset.
Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of Own the Exit. I'm your co-host Caleb here in the studio as usual with Aaron. What's up, Aaron?
What's going on, Caleb?
Yeah,
How
man.
you doing today?
I'm doing fantastic, dude. I'm going to tell you something. It's been a really awesome couple of days.
Yeah, it's been great.
We've had some of the top producers in our network multiplier model program here in Kansas City with us, touring some properties, doing some different things. And our network multiplier model program, what it is, it's an exclusive program that partners with accomplished business leaders, entrepreneurs, folks who have, built a successful business or a successful career centered around networks and meeting people and connecting with people. And we've been able to kind of leverage what we do and what they've done to sort of bridge a gap to help them build real estate wealth in a condensed time frame using only skills that they already have. And so our panel that's going to be here with us today has collectively directed millions of dollars into real estate, influencing over $75 million in assets just in the last 18 months. This is the first of several episodes in a roundtable series where we're going to talk about everything from mindset to business skills that make millions to how to passively invest in real estate and so many other more to achieve a seven-figure income or higher. And so now, in this episode, we're going to dive specifically into the psychology behind wealth building, uncovering how mindset is a critical factor that separates those who thrive financially from those who struggle. Now, I talk to entrepreneurs all the time who have bought this lie that making more money is going to solve all their money problems, right? And so they go out, they create, they build something, and yeah, they make a lot more money, but they realize it never works. In fact, a lot of times the worry and the emotional relationship with money get worse the more money that they make. I've heard it, the notorious B.I.G., right?
Oh, yeah.
We were just talking about how Aaron used to rap, right? Aaron's a baller rapper. The notorious B.I.G. is famous.
I'll drop a rhyme maybe next session.
That's it.
Next episode.
The notorious B.I.G. said, "Mo money, mo problems," right? You've heard that. Everybody heard that. But I think we're here today and kind of in this conversation to expose that as a lie. I don't think more money creates more problems. I think more money simply amplifies an existing problem that's been there all along, because the problem is not money. The problem is mindset. It's
mindset
100%
and emotional, and it compounds whatever is dormant.
Absolutely.
Because now you have more options. You have more possibility to money's a tool.
Exactly.
And now you have more tools that can be used for good or evil or harm. And then, you got all your, second cousins coming out of the woodwork who have their own emotional issues and mindset issues. And, I think when you're, for Notorious B.I.G. going from zero to millions of dollars and fame at the same time, and then it just attracts all of that dysfunction.
Absolutely.
And if you're not trained and you don't have the right mindset and you don't have the financial literacy or skills, it can really be a problem.
Right? Absolutely. And I think there's two default money mindsets that kind of work in tandem with most entrepreneurs who achieve any level of success. It's a greed mindset and a poverty mindset. A greed mindset is how much more can I get? Right. And a poverty mindset is, well, how much of this can I keep? Right. And I think we're here today to have this conversation to talk about a third option that's the most powerful option that we're all kind of pursuing collectively. And that's an abundance mindset. Yeah. It's how much can I give? How much can I give to my family? How much can I give to my community? How much can I even give to myself? So we want to get rid of money guilt. We want to get rid of money fear. We want to get rid of all money weirdness. And that's what we plan to do on this episode today. And that's the conversation we're going to have. So I want to introduce our guests here. because I think these guys are gonna add a tremendous amount of value. They've all had tremendous success in various different industries, and now are partnering up with us at Oak IQ Investments in our network multiplier model program, and they bring a ton of value. So first, we got Wayne Johnson on the panel with us today. Wayne is a titan in health and wellness who, after losing a $500 million enterprise, rebounded to build a 9-figure business in about 6 years. He's the principal of Exodus Legacy Trust, focusing on helping entrepreneurial families achieve an exit from the status quo and build passive wealth and legacy. Welcome to the show, Wayne.
Thanks, brother. Excited to be here.
Welcome back to the show. Wayne
Yeah,
was actually
thank
a
you.
guest
Yeah.
about 6 months
Yeah,
ago.
I
on
made
the
it back,
show.
guys. Made it back. So
Absolutely.
by popular
He's here
demand,
live.
maybe.
Last time he was sitting in
demand.
Seattle, his home in
Yeah.
Seattle,
Yep.
coming in virtually, but now he's
We like the
in
live
Kansas
version
City.
more.
Yeah. Excited to be here.
We call Wayne the Wayne train
Yeah.
because Wayne just keeps on going. He's like the Energizer Bunny. We also have Rod Areola in the house. What's up, Rod?
Hey, what's going on?
Rod is a serial entrepreneur known for expanding the Teriyaki Madness franchise, as well as his prowess in Amazon DSP operations. Rod's expertise in business operations has fueled his substantial passive real estate portfolio. He's the founder of Stellar Legacy Capital, where he tailors real estate investments to business owners and operators. Man, it's great to have you here, Rod.
Great to be here, guys. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for being here.
Excited to be here.
Yeah. And then last but certainly not least, we got Tony Akins. What's up, Tony?
How you doing, guys?
Tony is a retired career public servant raised in a family of Dust Bowl blue-collar workers and immigrants that have bootstrapped a family legacy as successful contractors, real estate business owners, and investors. His current venture, Equip Star Fund, is positioned to become a leading portal to bring opportunity for honorarium for those who serve. The fund is tailored exclusively for first responders, military members, their families, and charities so that they can diversify into group real estate investments. Tony, man, it's so good to have you here.
Thank you, Caleb. And
Awesome.
happy
So good
be
to
out
have
here.
you, man.
So I want to start off the conversation, and let's start with Tony. All right, Tony, what do you think the biggest myth about business and wealth is that's kind of held you back, and then how did you conquer it?
As you mentioned in the bio, my family, my dad, or I should say my mom, never got into high school or got out of high school. My dad never got into high school. And so in the 1970s and 80s, when I grew up, I was kind of the belief that you had to have everything in place. You had to have either a wealthy background, you had to have the team around you, you had to have the uniforms, the training, the building, everything in order to succeed in business. And that was the only way it was done. The problem was I was watching my brothers growing up who built successful construction companies, and they did it with the same no college education. And so that disparity between what society was teaching me and what I was seeing in our own family circle was kind of the primer to go, hey, I don't know that I'm being told the right thing.
Yeah. Yeah. That's tremendous insight. I mean, I think even my first business mentor when I was 18 years old, he said a very similar thing. He started going to college at, I think it was, I can't even remember the university, but he was getting a degree in mathematics. And he's like, I don't want to do anything in math. I don't want to be an accountant. I don't want to do anything in that. Why am I doing this? So he went out and he built a business that, within a few, like not even a year, he was like the president of the largest like tech sales company on the East Coast.
Wow.
With no college education. Right. And so I think
Right.
you're absolutely right. The thing that we're kind of taught and led to believe is that if we don't have some fancy degree, if we don't have some pedigree, if we don't come from some certain kind of background, then the American dream is not available to us, and nothing could be further from the truth.
Correct.
So I love that.
And so much it seems like how we're conditioned, especially if you're like a first generation entrepreneur, where you grow up kind of conditioned a certain way through society, and then becoming an entrepreneur or like flourishing, like it's a journey of discovery.
Yeah.
Of trying to like, okay, what's false, what can be like overthrown, and like how can I create my own path, right? So I feel like, I had some of those same kind of struggles of like just thinking a certain way and then realizing like I don't think I have to do it that way though.
There were inconsistencies between the picture and what was happening in our four walls.
Yeah, but then most people just stay there, right? Like it's
Right.
only a small percentage of people that actually buck the trend and create their own path. So, yeah.
Rod, you have expanded a restaurant franchise. You have become, a top Amazon DSP logistics operator. You've built businesses, scaled businesses, grown businesses, all that kind of. Tell us a little bit about your mindset, where it started, where it is now, and how has your money mindset specifically kind of grown and changed over the years of all the different things that you've built and done?
Sure. I want to go back to the first question though. What when you start a business, everyone thinks you're going to have more time, right? That's farthest from the truth. So, so I've done a lot of different things, including scaling, a restaurant franchise from 30 locations to 100 locations now that are open. And then, operations wise, the mindset is, for me over time, it's changed, in terms of, I'm a guy that likes to do everything themselves, right? So I'm a perfectionist. I'm a type A personality, and I've always tried to keep my finger on everything that's going on. And so over the years, I've learned that, you can't do it all on your own. You got to have a great team, right? And you got to delegate these tasks. You got to delegate things to other people, and that's the biggest mindset for me is to build a good team around you, professional. Well, I'm always trying to find, and everyone says this, I'm trying to find people that are smarter than me, but I'm also trying to find people that'll work harder than me, and that's very hard. That's very hard. So, it's all about finding that right team, right? And motivating them and giving them incentives to, and rewarding them with things that'll keep them motivated. So, that's the biggest mindset for me is making sure you build the right team and the right people around you that'll help you do whatever you want to do in business, in wealth, in life,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I got a story about Rod, and I mean, this guy is a stud because we actually worked together at our very first job, and he says, I got hired before him, and so he says I was his mentor, so came on, I think I gave him a little bit of training. I think we just went to lunch most of the time, but we talked about things, talked about life, but he actually exited that job, and, this is the thing about always having a mindset, a pliable mindset, being open to new ideas and open to new concepts, because he left that job, went out on his own to do consulting, called me and was like, hey, Wayne, you got to come and jump over and do this as well. This is what they're paying us. And I was like, wait a second, I'm working this 9 to 5 job. It's very stable. We were young. We were like in our early 20s. But he was one of the first people that kind of broke a mindset shift on me that I was like, oh, wow. And he went for it. And so I took I grabbed the parachute, I jumped too, and then all of a sudden I went and I realized something about myself, that I was a natural recruiter, vision caster. So Rod planted a vision in me, and then I went on and I recruited about 10 other people to leave that place, come do consulting with me as well. So I started building a team from that. So I just, it's really cool. Almost, 25 years later, we're back kind of together.
Yeah,
we've gone and done all these things, but now we're kind of coming together. But really, a lot of that dream seed for me to build teams and build something started with that first leap. And so, just a mindset to be pliable, to not be fixed. And, because my dad kind of worked in a tech career and built real estate on the side. So I kind of just thought, just stay at this cozy, cushy job and do that. And so it kind of it pushed me out of the plane a little earlier than I ever thought, but it was like the greatest thing ever because it just expanded me. And then I just watched his life excel in a whole different direction. But now we're back running again together. And I just, we're just like iron sharpens iron, to
so cool.
help each other grow.
Absolutely.
So it's been amazing.
That's awesome. It's kind of like, and it's almost that like rich dad, poor dad comparison. Like poor dad wasn't poor financially in the book, right? It was, if you want financial security, then go get a nice, cushy W-2 job that has a nice retirement and just work there for 40 years and retire when you're 70 and go to Florida. Right? And then But if you want financial freedom, then you have to do things differently.
There's
You
risk.
gotta, you gotta, there's risk. You're not going to feel secure along the journey to financial freedom,
Yeah.
right? All the time, because there's going to be risk involved.
Yeah.
And it sounds like that spark, like what you said, of like another entrepreneur coming and like doing something where you're like, wow, like, and it like activates like something in you, like, because I've had those experiences where like interacting with someone and being like, wow, like, why am I not doing that? Or why am I stuck here when and so it's like when you take that risk, like you jumped out of the plane, right? And then 10 more people jump out of the plane, you know, that you
and ego
recruited.
and pride could even step in where I'm like, man, he's younger than me. He started working like I graduated before him from the business school. Like this guy's all taking off and doing this. Like he should be following me, you know. But like I've always been like, you know, Caleb, Mary, you guys are younger than me, and you know I love it because you guys just have different mindsets, different energy, different experience, and it's just like I'm just always trying to pull from all of that to be like, wow, I need a little bit of that, I need a little bit of that, I need a little bit of that. I'm not like that. I just, you know, make me better by having all these different people around me.
Absolutely.
And Wayne, you talk a lot about, and we've had a lot of conversations around this topic, that the one thing that that really separates those who experience the whole package, right? There's one thing, and it's, do you have an abundance mindset?
Yeah.
Right. And that abundance mindset is, you know, we kind of talked about it in the intro, but an abundance mindset is one that is not like, it almost leads to being that sponge that you're talking about, where you're able to receive
Attract.
from all these different things, but also attract. It's like the lighthouse on a hill. It's like it just, all the boats are drawn to it. Success is drawn to the person who is shining the brightest. And the way you shine the brightest is not by trying to get more for yourself, but it's giving more, right? It's that the light, you know, the lighthouse is projecting light out, right?
Yeah.
Not trying to get everything to come to me. So talk a little bit about, have you always had that mindset, or where did that mindset come from?
I think one of the key things that, as we were talking about this, is the phrase is talent is overrated, but talent is always a lot of times wasted. And so I grew up playing sports, doing team things, and you know, and even with myself, when I was younger, I could like show up with very little practice and excel at a higher level. And what I realized is like that leads to very bad things. And so, you know, I started to study like who are the best teammates, who are like making teams win. And you see it in sports all the time. It's a lot of times it's just like the people that don't have the most talent, but they become the glue and they pull the best out of every person around them. And it just started to help me realize that it's really not talent. It's like developing skills and identifying skills in other people and being like, man, I need this person at the table to help with the overall mission, the overall goal of what we're trying to accomplish as a team. And, you know, that's what I love, what we're building with, you know, the network multiplier model is it's like this whole round table of all these people with different skills. And we're like, we need that, we need that. But then again, it goes back to the abundance is nobody's being scarce with the knowledge. Everyone's like, man, you know, let's share this. Let's develop each other. Like, oh, I have this idea. Let me show you that, because, you know, there's nothing new under the sun, right? That's another scarcity mindset, is that like I have some trade secret or something that only I know. And I believe in God, so God can give me wisdom of 1,000 men in 1 second if I pray for it. So I'm never scarce with anything, because I feel like every idea is accessible from God, and you know, so we can just share that freely. And I mean, so far it's worked out well for me, you know, embracing that mindset and continuing to embrace that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Tony, man, I know you made a shift not too long ago from being a career public servant to now focusing on passive real estate investments, right? Investing passively, but also helping other folks who have a similar background as you, career public servants, be able to do the same thing.
Right.
And a lot of times there is a mindset that prevents people from seeing that opportunity, right? From accessing that opportunity. What do you think successful investors, you know, how do you think successful investors consider risk differently than those who are less successful? And talk a little bit about how that applies to the folks that you serve specifically with Equip Star Fund.
Let's get this off the table right now. You're going to have deals that go wrong.
Yeah.
There's going to be losers. Just accept that as part of being in the investment community.
Yeah.
Back to kind of the core of the question. As I worked through a career, and when we talk about teams and all the leverage that the teams bring and all the various skill sets the teams bring, we face some tremendous circumstances. And we don't think of that, in the public service community a lot of times as real risk, or we don't, maybe we joke about it a lot. And it's bigger than we let on. Really, in investing and some of the things that we're doing here with this network multiplier model, it's a new arena for a lot of these guys to step into. And so because of that, somebody's got to lead the way. And I'd always been kind of around the fire station, the stock guy, the equity guy. And so it was not a big leap to come over to where we're at now. From that point, firefighters have this kind of team mindset that, hey, what's the other guy doing? What's going on over there? And so the ones and twos have come in and they've started to kind of follow, hey, what's going on over there? And they're going to watch that. And it won't be long, I think, until we continue to see that this is just going to continue to segue and waterfall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. No, it does. And I'd love for you to, speak a little bit to how you kind of made this shift from stocks and equities into focusing more on passive real estate investments.
Sure.
Yeah. What was it that drew you and attracted you to that?
One of the things I think anybody who spends any time in the investment community identifies is that anybody who has the kind of time freedom and legacy wealth creation has real estate as part of the portfolio. I had always been, having watched my brothers and watched swung the hammer when I was younger, watched the power of what real estate could do. Slow flips in personal properties throughout my career. And then as my career kind of wound up in the last 5 years, moving into some of the various aspects, we did some tax liens, tax deeds, that kind of stuff. And if you've spent any time in real estate, you know that these things just kind of build and you discover other parts of the market that are available to you. And so it's just kind of grown organically out of that. And I've got a long-time relationship with Wayne here. And when we discovered what he was doing, it started a conversation that led to another conversation. And now we're out here in Kansas City. Yeah. Curiously, it actually was out here in Lenexa when he approached me about the Lenexa project that we're working on right now.
That's awesome.
Wow.
That's awesome. And so I think the reason I was poking and prodding with that question, not specifically about mindset, but was to see that it really was, it seems to me, and correct me if I'm wrong, it really was that you had the mindset of, I'm willing to absorb and analyze risk. And it kind of even comes from a little bit of your background. Like you think of risk differently as a firefighter. It's like, I'm going to run into this house. It's like, yeah, I'm going to run into this house. There's a family in there.
Absolutely.
Right. And so thinking in the same way, it's like it's the same way that I think about my investments, obviously not with the same physical life risk, but I'm like, there's a family on the line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right? There's a family on the line with how I make these decisions. There's a long-term future and a legacy on the line. And I think if more people could begin to think with that kind of mindset about the future, then we would look at risk differently. Risk is always a part of the investing equation. But if we're trying to stay secure, like what we talked about earlier, then we're never going to experience freedom. We're never going to build legacy if we're always just looking for security, safety, all of that kind of thing, right?
You talk about security, and that's one of the things I've heard around the coffee table at the fire station time and time again. Guys talk about contracts and security. Well, we look at, so many cities, not to get political, but, so many places that have had municipal bankruptcies, and suddenly those contracts get torn up in court. Let's be honest, that security is not there. That doesn't come with a guarantee that you're going to get that, even though that word guarantee gets batted around a lot. Back to your point, Wayne, when you get around a group of folks that don't have that scarcity mindset, those guarantee issues are never there either, but somehow there's always abundance.
Yeah.
That idea of risk is to me, it's even if you have a 50% chance of failure, if you do nothing, I mean, what's the alternative? It's almost, there's more risk almost in the sense of yes, it's comfortable, but it's like a slow death.
Guaranteed zero.
Yeah.
And so it's Worst case scenario, you take that risk and then you fail and then you go get a job and work till 65,
Right.
which is what you would have done anyways.
Right.
What's the quote? The boat is safest in the harbor, but it's meant to be at sea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I was literally thinking that same quote, and one of my mentors, he says, I want to live a battleship life, not a cruise ship life. And you think about
Right.
what people do on cruise ships versus like what is a battleship, and I'm a person of mission and purpose, and so I want to be out sailing in battle every day, which means there's always obstacles, but inside every obstacle is massive opportunity, right? And the bigger the problems, the bigger the paycheck a lot of times. And some people can have, problems, that's a negative. But again, it's the mindset shift of like every problem is opportunity, and the people that solve the most problems in life tend to have the most wealth and the most fun, and can get around other people that can help you solve the problem. So love that. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure.
So Rod, we talked a little bit about the greed mindset and the poverty mindset and how those two kind of work in tandem. And it seems like the result of both of those working together is it can create either folks who are extremely risk averse and all they want to do is just bury their money under their mattress or in their backyard and guarantee, over the last few years, 7% annual loss on their money, right? That's the only guaranteed investment, is
more,
bury
yeah.
your cash in the backyard and it'll lose 7% annually.
Right.
Yeah.
Especially with the current administration. But anyway,
Not to get political.
not to get political, Tony, but
Just get truthful.
but it seems like that where the conversation has gone is with investments, with business building, with whatever it is. An abundance mindset understands that risk's a part of every equation.
Absolutely.
Right. So
Yep.
greed is and poverty are either massive risk aversion or take stupid risks.
Yeah.
Like the crypto gamble, right? That I've
Yeah.
seen so many people
Sure.
lose so much on, and it's like,
Sure.
why are you more okay with doing that than investing in something more tangible, right? So
right.
talk a little bit about how has your mindset influenced the investment decisions that you've made
Yeah,
over
absolutely.
the years.
Yeah. So as Wayne alluded to earlier, I am a big risk taker, right? That's in my genetic DNA. So going and consulting right away after just 1 year out of school, I'm a high risk taker. Not everybody's like that, right? But there's times in my life where I have been really conservative and worried about the future and want to stick cash in the bank and just leave it there, right? So, the key is to take calculated risks, right? To really think about what type of risks you're taking. I mean, crypto, obviously, and I do invest a little crypto, by the way.
Yeah, that's okay. Hey, I do too.
I'm well diversified, exactly. So
not a
that's one of the
gamble.
things too. You got to, you have to understand what the risks are first of all before taking them. And understand what that you can lose it all, right, with crypto. But with business, with even just waking up today, you're taking a risk. So that's how I live my life, right? I came into this world with nothing, and I'm going to leave with nothing. So what do I have to lose, right? There's nothing more than I can lose except for my life. So that's my mentality. That's my mindset. Really going into the day every morning. I'm thankful. I thank God every morning for waking up, and then just go with that mindset. But in terms of risk, risk is just a necessary, I wouldn't say evil, but it's a necessary thing. I mean, and you've got to learn, how to assess risk and learn from it. Obviously, when you make mistakes, right, you're going to make mistakes. Like all these guys said, you're going to fail, right? And you got to learn from those failures. And if you learn from those, then you're going to be better in the future. So just risk is again, it's a normal thing. And real estate, obviously, for me, has been the least risky asset class that I've invested in.
Yeah.
Right.
And over time, right? I mean, you can't go in and think you're gonna make 2-3 times your return in a year or two, right?
Right.
And which is why I love real estate, because it almost forces you to be resilient and stick with that asset in times of uncertainty and things like that.
Yeah.
And again, it's all about handling, like, how you handle risk and learning from that. So
Yeah.
yeah.
So it seems like just the consensus conversation, and I'd love for any of you just to jump in and kind of add anything that you're stewing on. But the consensus is that if we're going to walk in an abundance mindset, we're going to fix our money mindset, right? Those who are listening, if you're looking to correct your money mindset, if you're looking to, develop an abundance mindset, then a big part of the conversation has centered around you're going to have to become comfortable with a little bit of risk. And the idea being that you have to assess what is on the line in terms of the risk that I'm taking. And that I think that's been the thing that stuck out with me in this conversation is the idea of running into a burning house, right? It's like, what is on the line? Of course I'll take that risk, but we often don't think of it in that way. And so any kind of final thoughts that you guys are stewing on in this conversation? Aaron, you got anything?
I mean, I think I would just, I love that quote on the ship is safest in harbor, but it was meant for the sea. And it kind of makes me think of like, we were out in Mexico a couple weeks ago at a big event with a bunch of business people. And we were talking, it was the idea of like everyone's alive, but very few are actually
Correct.
living.
Yeah.
And it's that idea of like that very slow death. Like we talk about the risk, you don't notice the risk of like inaction because it's so slow and it's so gradual, and you're just slowly 10, 20, 30 years ending up in a place where you look back and you're like, I wish I could go back and try that over again, because I didn't take that leap. And so I guess that's my big takeaway is like when you look at like, oh, this is so risky, and because you can just see it, right? And so much of it is just made up anyways. It's just fear-based, or it's not even like I like what you said about calculated risk, like actually breaking it down and being like, what's the worst that could actually happen?
Exactly.
And it's usually not as bad as what it can be built up to be, right? In our minds, or what paralyzes us, but to me, it's like, I've always been, my greater fear is being 65 years old, 75 years old, and looking back and being like, I didn't take action.
Yeah.
And I think I'd rather have nothing and at least know I tried, but looking back and having that regret.
Yep.
I think that's more painful to me than failure would be.
Right.
I heard it said one time that the greatest repositories in any community of wealth, knowledge, skill building lie in the cemeteries, and they were never realized. There's some things that are worse than death, and getting blown up in a deal or something like that to take it out to a less ethereal level. As a paramedic, you can go out on patients who have a negative outcome, and that's sad. But I think what's oftentimes more sad is you watch a life erode on the couch because of fear and paralyzation that comes with it over 40 or 50 or 60 years.
Yeah.
And that's really just because of that fear mindset.
Yeah. And I mean, it's always about taking action. There's a great quote by Jim Rohn that says the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago, but the second best time to plant a tree is today. And so, you can always do something today. Today matters. And, one other point that just as we were talking here, just reminded me is like human nature is there's always this desire in humans that like to get something without work, and so there's like this hidden pull to be like, even though we talk about real estate and passive investment, like I'm always like, I don't have a destination disease where I'm trying to get to this certain point I'm always thinking of the stewardship. Even though I'm creating all this passive wealth, I'm always thinking of the stewardship of it, of like, how can I still deploy that wealth? Even though a lot of it's coming in passive now, I still want to steward it and deploy it and never be passive getting something for nothing. Because I know every time I get a dollar, I'm like, how am I going to steward this dollar well and actually multiply this dollar to help even more and grow it that way? So if we can counteract that scarcity mindset of always wanting something for nothing, because most people want that. That's why crypto is so popular. That's why people want to sit around and trade options, and they just want to make some money and
hey, easy, I'm an
almost do
options
something
trader.
without work.
Yeah.
And if we can just rise above that, and that's why like I only like to align myself with people that really, like Rod said, like I want to be around people that want to outwork and work as hard as me. And when we do that, like we're an unstoppable force.
Absolutely. I've heard
That's
like
awesome.
that the every dollar that you have is a soldier, and you're the commander of your army,
Yeah.
right? And every soldier's job is to go out and recruit another soldier,
Yeah, that's what we have to do.
right?
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and its ability to do that is 100% solely dependent upon its commander.
Yeah.
Right.
So good.
And so you have to make the decision, what am I going to do with this? Am I going to kill this soldier so that I can have XYZ and feel good about myself? Or am I going to let this soldier go out and do the job that it was made to do, which is multiply?
Yeah.
You know, and so that, and you know, you mentioned your faith in God. I'm a Christian as well. I never apologize for that. And I believe that the first commandment given to man in Genesis was be fruitful, multiply,
Yeah.
subdue the earth,
Yeah.
right? And so in everything that we do, we need to be thinking with multiplication in mind.
Yeah.
So a multiplication mindset is an abundance mindset.
Network multiplier model.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Let's go. Let's go. That wasn't even intentional. Hey, thanks everybody again for joining us on the Exit. This is an amazing roundtable discussion. We're going to continue this discussion over the next several episodes with top producers in our network multiplier model program. And so, Aaron, any final thoughts for today's episode before we sign off?
No, I just appreciate you guys being here and just hearing all your wisdom and experiences. And thanks for tuning in, everyone. Feel free to leave us a review on iTunes, Spotify. And until next time, we'll talk soon.
All right. Thanks, everybody.